For the last 24 hours, Republic TV has been getting you live updates from Mumbai and across Maharashtra of Cyclone Nisarga. Today, Cyclone Nisarga made landfall this afternoon, and SkyMet, the team at SkyMet, have been working with us throughout, and that's been the big differentiator. Now, SkyMet is very reliable, one of the most reliable agencies when it comes to weather tracking, weather monitoring, and the entire team at SkyMet have been breaking down the details, breaking down the different updates as the eye of the storm almost kept changing today. As the NDRF chief called it, he said some cyclones are negotiable. Jatin, I don't know whether you heard that part, but the entire story of the landfall and the impact of Cyclone Nisarga has been, how maybe a little unpredictable as far as the IMD was concerned, did alert on time, and everything was as per what they had said. The path of the cyclone and all the finer aspects of it. But I think, as we've been talking about throughout the day, Jatin, like he said, some cyclones are negotiable, but very little impact seen, especially in Mumbai, which was bracing for the I wouldn't say the worst, but for the aftermath of Cyclone Nisarga. How do you assess, and what do you make of the different districts and the kind of damage? That we can't say there has been no damage, because there has been damage in many parts of the districts and the western coastline. Jatin, would you also say that this cyclone somehow spared all of us this time?
I think the term I would use is, I think we got off cheap. Cyclones have tremendous devastating effect, especially for poor folk. I really would like to know what is the state of the fishermen. Were they given enough warning? There are a lot of fishing communities along the coast, all the way from here to Goa, and this was in the making about a week ago. You can see my tweets, you can see LinkedIn. I said that there was a system that was brewing that was going to kind of disrupt the west coast, and Mumbaikars, please watch out. And fishermen generally go out to sea for a long period of time. I'm saying this because if you remember, a couple of years ago there was Cyclone Oki. It was a cyclone that came to the Kerala government unannounced, and then the Indian Navy had to go and pull out bodies from the Indian Ocean. I don't think any of that has happened, but it would be great if Republic could kind of track that aspect of it. See, the thing is with climate change, a lot of things are changing, but a lot of things remain the same, in the sense that it is the Bay of Bengal which is supposed to be the more active area. I mean, in last week we saw super cyclone, the first super cyclone since in 1999. So, and winds of 180 kilometers, doing tremendous amount of damage to Calcutta. The west coast is relatively peaceful. There are cyclones here. There is generally a pre-monsoon cyclone that appears around here and then recurs. So you see, Gujarat is used to getting cyclones skirting and doing damage, generally going into the Arab Peninsula. There have only been reported one cyclone in June that affected Mumbai that we've all talked about. That was in 1891. And Cyclone Fayan happened in 2009, but that was post-monsoon in November, and that also did not do too much damage. Now, this is what I would call is the magic of climatology. A cyclone in the Bay of Bengal has potential to do tremendous damage and does potential damage. A cyclone in the Arabian Sea can either recurve, go towards the Western Peninsula, or affect Gujarat badly, which has happened a couple of times. But the ones that tend to go into Maharashtra, somehow, for whatever reason, maybe it is the curvature of the earth or just the terrain around that, do not turn into monsters like Oki or Amphan.
I agree with you, Jatin. I agree with you, and as a follow-up to what you said about Republic looking into the impact on the poor and also the fishermen, we will follow this up tomorrow. Today it's been quite a challenge, to be honest, to get a full look at the aftermath, the real aftermath of what's happened. Like we saw in one of the videos, roofs are and obviously in when you're in the eye of the storm, in those areas there are many fishermen living, and you can see in some of those pictures the roofs being blown away due to the impact of the gushing winds. Now, Jatin, I wanted to ask you two more questions, and you can answer one after the other. And it's important that we address this issue as well. It's a very, very important issue. Now, when speaking to the different agencies and those who are in the front line, including the NDRF, now the police, there are some, and including the NDRF, who feel that there is so much to learn over what's happened in the last 2 months in India. I'm saying that because the disaster management aspect of it has not been addressed in the last 5 to 6 to 7 years. I'm not sure about 7 years, I'd say 6 years. And the reason I'm saying that is because you see agencies like the NDRF and you see NDMA and the state disaster relief forces. Now, in many cases, before the last few years, they were always taken on a contractual basis. They were India, I believe, or we have had many letters of people writing into us saying that we should take disaster management very seriously and make it part of our governance. That's first part of my question. I'm sorry, it's a little long question. And the second aspect is I wanted to ask you to finally tell our viewers what happens to Cyclone Cyclone Nisarga, I beg your pardon, next.
Let me kind of answer the second question first. Let me go show you the radar image, and you'll see that's already decayed. It's kind of moved north towards, it's going towards Shirdi. It's already given rainfall in Nasik. It's already affected Pune here. It's going to affect Western Maharashtra, Madhya Maharashtra and Marathwada tonight, and then tomorrow it's onwards into MP. It's going to cause rainfall in pretty decent rainfall quantities, 40-50 millimeters, and gusting in many places. But this is pre-monsoon, so it's more or less going to be okay. It might do some little bit of agriculture damage here and there. The grape folk in Nasik tend to be very sensitive to inclement weather, but I think the worst is over, and it's also going to dump some pre-monsoon, or I mean technically I think this is the monsoon, but the IMD does not think so, moisture that is well needed right now, and Mumbai is more or less clear. The first question is about, you see, there are two aspects. I think India is very forward in terms of having an NDMA, the National Disaster Management Act. Every state is supposed to have an SDRF. There are multiple, there are these nodal agencies and coordinations that are always happening. I kind of am aware of that community. The state and the center and the IMD, and this district administration, we have a pretty good administrative setup for that. I think there are two ways that you need to think about this to kind of improve it. First, that like most things in India, it is the poor and vulnerable that have least protection. So when we are talking about NDRF teams, if you look at the scope, now had this cyclone for whatever reason gone wrong, you're looking at a massive population stretched over, say, from Mumbai all the way to I would say north of Goa all the way to Gujarat, that would have been affected. And I really feel that the red alert was issued very late. It was issued only on the 1st, although I had been saying this. It was pretty evident that something was going to come and hit the west coast. And the second part is, our defense industrial complex is a monopoly of PSUs, and that has an impact, because the kind of instrumentation, the kind of research, the kind of engineering that goes into disaster management is pretty much the same that goes into defense, and defense and space. Now, these things, the service capabilities and the technologies will only improve if there is much more deeper, like fundamentally deeper private sector engagement, from building of machines to providing services. And here what you see is that the relationship with the private sector is on a buyer-vendor kind of thing. You're not supposed to work in an interactive fashion. The universities that also are, the government invests a lot of money in universities doing research and workshops. The private sector, for more or less, is left out of it. And the change has to start from DRDO and ISRO, and then you'll see it percolating downwards.
I think I think you summed it up, perfectly. And Jatin, uh, thank you for being with Republic. And we got a lot of feedback, especially about the fact that SkyMet was
Thank you.
associated with us. And you made weather and cyclone monitoring very very simple for people to understand, and I think that's very important in broadcast as well. We try to simplify the facts for our viewers, and I think that was a big difference. Appreciate you joining us and the entire team at SkyMet today. Thank you, Jatin.